What up, people of the world? Welcome back to Knell of St. Godhrkar. We've just had to restart having got the bad ending. And by the looks of things, we can change the ending by redoing chapters. So we've we checked day 5 and all the chapters are the same. We checked day 6 and this chapter was new. That Zariel went to visit a fortune teller and then he was told that he still has family in somewhere in the country. So let's just advance to day 7 and see if there's anything new on day 7. And I think we have to do day 6 and choose Raven's different path to stop Raven from getting murdered. That's my interpretation of things, at any rate. Yeah, this is the dream that Chevlet has. And then she has an argument with... Yeah, and then these keeps popping up. An exception has occurred. For some reason they keep popping up. I don't know why. And then she has an argument with her boyfriend Maverick before going back to Wyatt's estate.
Déjà allé.
Alay.
This should all be the same. I might skip this actually. Skip it. Because this is all the same. Stay around or what? Sneak back to the house. I'm going to let her do what she wants to do. I want to save my karma points. I don't think it particularly matters. Plus I haven't been reading the story. So... I'm not sure what each consequence would be, what each decision would do.
Tav! Glue. Vestishiak. Glue.
Yeah, so that story's all the same. And then, okay, we've got a new thing. That's Urchin Easternizer. Oh no, this is the poorly. This is the end of it. Okay. So we don't actually have anything new. So let's go back to day 6. And try and change what happens with Raven by going the back alleys rather than the main street. So this we can skip until we get the decision. We're not taking the main street. We're going to take a shortcut. As the door clacks shut, he is startled to realize the decision he just made. His heart races uncontrollably. As if something is driving him away, he runs down the stairs and outside. His frantic footsteps awaken the neighbor's dogs, but the barking soon fades into the night. The cold air rushes out from the dark alley, bringing with it a terrible smell. The winter night blows against his neck with an icy caress, making him shiver. Slums in the rundown business districts are like scabs, poverty, diseases, and squalor are not hidden from the public's eyes. This place has few lights along the road, and most of those don't even appear to be working. Garbage is piled up on the corners, and Raven carefully steps over a puddle near the trash. The surface has muddy texture. As he puts more pressure onto his toes, a faint squeak sounds from near his foot, followed by an extremely unpleasant stench as sewage coats his shoes. But there's no sign of other footsteps. Raven shivers. The temperature of the winter night has dropped even further, soaking through his clothing. The mindless courage of the young man's impulse gets ahead of him and neglects that little voice in his head that reminds him of the danger of the night. Then Raven realizes that he is, in fact, in the sewers. A faint voice hits his eardrums. Raven turns to look behind him, his jaw shaking like the lid of a kettle. The chattering of his teeth fills his ears, but he doesn't hear the sound again. It disappeared just like that, an illusion in the silence. Raven averts his eyes for a moment. He heard another vague clicking sound, but it wasn't a mouse. Something else, something real, and it was behind him. Don't move. Oh, for God's sake, we're not going to freeze. We're going to run immediately. Raven jumps to his feet and makes a run for the alley. Oh, we're getting murdered again, guys. Turns out it doesn't matter which way you go, Raven just gets murdered regardless. A steel string flies out of the shadows and grabs him by the neck. In panic, Raven struggles violently. The muscles in his calves seize as he fights, but he hardly notices. He firmly grasps the string around his neck, but it grew tighter, winding itself into his skin. Blood oozes out. Wet sawdust and rosin. Raven identifies the strong odor coming from the stranger's body as it melds with the rusty smell coming from himself. Raven frantically swings his legs back and forth, kicking hysterically, then presses his chin against the man's hand in an attempt to make him let go. Yeah, we've read all this before. So we got murdered again, even though we went the different path. It seems like it doesn't matter which way you go, Raven gets murdered, so I'm not sure how you're supposed to overcome that. The face of the silver-haired man in the dark rotates and melts. Raven struggles to get a hold of the knife, but his dying brain thinks he's holding a cup instead. He sees the fish lying on a plate, looking at him with its white and cloudy eyes as mysterious white foam trickles from its mouth. The fish turns into the face of the dead, and the corpse smiles at him with the same shriveled face, blowing a cold kiss from its hollow mouth. The wind brushes his cheek, and he feels every ounce of coldness seep into his bones. Raven huffs out a weak whimper. The force pressing against his throat loosens, and his weight drags him down. Raven staggers 2 steps forward and then falls back to the ground. His throat and arteries were sliced open by the string. He wheezes as blood gushes from the wound in his neck. As the blood floods his lungs, Raven coughs. His eyes are drowned in uncontrollable tears, the blurry figures fading away. The body twitches for a moment and finally stops moving. Bad end. Scapegoats again. Okay, so... I can't think what decisions we can make differently. Oh, we have to... We've gone back. It won't let us do day 7 anymore because we never reached day 7 because we died on day 6. Let's load day 6 again and see if anything's changed. I can't think of any different decisions we can make that will alter the story that much. The only thing I can think of is Chevlet not leaving at the start and then... Well, no, because they'd still... Basically, it all revolves around Chevlet. Yeah, it's just Raven's story again. It all revolves around Chevlet wanting to be a star and that Y-caster guy getting Guler and his brother to kill the musicians. So maybe if we go back to day 1 and she doesn't leave. That's the only thing I can think of. Well, we wish Chevlet, no, Urchin Easternizer, Arif, Poorly, Let's Ariel, Chevlet, yeah. Let's try this. See, maybe if she stays... Skip all this. Why can't I skip this? This is all new.
Oh, Morien.
Okay, so now we can skip it. So we couldn't skip it before because it wasn't new. Because it was all new, yeah. Now we can skip.
Blood-splattering.
Yeah, we've seen all this before, so we can skip it. Skip all this. We're going to keep patient. Last time we left, let's try keeping patient. Seeing what happens. The ringleader and his cronies butter her up with words of praise all the time, but she knows their phoniness. She means nothing more than an expensive collectible to them. The only difference between her and a prostitute is that she costs more. Oh, gross. Just then a hand comes down to rest on the back of her chair. Okay, looks like this guy steps in anyway.
Oh.
Here you are, Miss Fuheiser. It is a 40-year-old gentleman in a pale suit. He simply stands there, yet his demeanor is as if he stood in a grand opera house instead of this poor little club.
What Weizen?
Mr. Whiteson. I didn't catch you at the entrance. Are these two gentlemen friends of yours? He speaks in a low voice as one does all frail objects, but instead of leaning over her, he stands upright and looks straight ahead. Okay, so this guy comes in and interjects anyway, so it looks like Chevlet goes with him, and then he hires the two brothers to make sure there isn't any competition in the city for her, which is why they're murdering Raven. So I'm really not sure how the hell you're supposed to change that fate. He who became Chevlet's hope when he fell into the depths of hell.
Line.
This is Mr. Gilbert Funds, blah blah blah. Well, I didn't know she was accompanied by such an honourable gentleman. Please sit down and join us. This club is honoured by your presence. No, thank you. I've come here to take Miss Fuchsia back. For such a beautiful pearl, I'm afraid there is no way a little oyster could hold her. Chevlet gets up with a folding fan hiding her smile, trying to escape with a polite excuse. Meanwhile, Fowland stands up with her. I see, you must be Mr. Whiteson, Chevlet's current patron. I was going to call another day, but now that we're here, it's a perfectly good opportunity to discuss. I was wondering, Mr. Whiteson, if you could spare the expense and give her to me. Club Stella will make you famous, as we did before. A flash of anger seizes Chevlet's mind. Did he just say give her to him, like she was merely a commodity, a pet? Lagarde won't let that happen. No one can take advantage of her now.
Fyong. Shong.
I'm afraid my contract with Mr. Whiteson doesn't allow...
Yeah, for sure.
I can pay Chevlet's liquidated damages, and of course additional compensation can be considered. All I need is a word from you, Mr. Whiteson. Chevlet is shaking with anger. She could not maintain her smile any longer. How dare he? A lady is talking.
Claw?
What? Lagarde finally turns his gaze directly at the gallant businessman.
Artred.
This lady is talking to you, sir, and I've never seen anyone treat a lady in such a way. Especially for one who holds such an elegant voice. To be ignored by you makes me wonder if you can really appreciate her voice, love it, and offer it all your support. Fowland's face grows deep red as he forces an awkward smile. I didn't know you had such a high opinion of art. I'm afraid that businessmen like me could never reach your height. But if so, shouldn't there be other elegant musicians out there waiting for your finding?
Godhrkar.
This girl, although she sings well, is... Well, the opera stage is not prepared for singers like her.
Godhrkar.
It is the world of art where a pretty face and shapely figures are of no use. Of course, if they are of any other use. His voice lowers. Fowlin and Sir Kumar look at each other and smile knowingly. The two smiling faces burn her pride like two hot irons.
Vincent.
Sometimes pearls will fall in the mud. The soil may hide and colour the lustre, but if one picks them up and rubs off the dirt, a fortunate person could find them of extraordinary value.
Alien.
But I'm afraid there are more people in the world who look not for pearls, but for jewel boxes. All they know about pearls is what they see on the red velvet cushion, and that's why they find nothing but pebbles in the mud. The smile on Fowlin's face disappears completely. When he speaks again, he strikes back at the businessman's aloof tone. Let's be honest, shall we? If you're raising the price, Mr. Whiteson, don't beat around the bush. Just name the price. How much do you want to sell her for? Oh, well, maybe you're right, but even pearls have a price, and it's always an affordable one. Lagarde frowns slightly, looking puzzled, then turns to Chevlet. He lowers his voice to make sure it's still loud enough for the other two to hear. Looks like we've got a third type today, the same person who threw the pearls in the mud. Chevlet laughs out loud this time, making no attempt to hide it. Lagarde maintains his impeccable demeanour and reaches out to her.
Vincent.
If I may.
Oh, Morien.
Of course. Chevlet puts her arm in his and leaves the troubles, pain, and the two men who had provided them behind. When they reach Club Stella's entrance, they see Lagarde Weisson's driver, Robert, waiting for them. When he observes his employer's appearance, he snuffs out his cigarette.
Huh?
Is it over, Mr. Whiteson, Miss Fuchsia?
I ring too, Jing.
We shall ask our Chevlet. How was the show? Yeah, we've seen all this. And then she goes with him. Okay, so that's all the same. Let's move on to day 6. We're not going to buy in the newspaper. Well, we're just going to let him do whatever he wants. We don't want to waste karma points on a choice that turns out to be inconsequential. As far as I'm aware, it's inconsequential.
Alongside.
Gets on the train, sees the girl who's sad. Goes to the church, looks for the newspaper. Yeah, this is the only one that's changed that's any different. So we'll do Raven's story. We'll go via the main street.
Just your claw?
I'm going to take a shortcut. We're going to take the main street. Run immediately or freeze here. Don't freeze here. Run immediately. And then you get the bad end. I have got no idea how you're supposed to get past that. Says only 80% on day 5, so that means we're missing something on the first day, day 5. We're missing 20%, which means there must be a choice somewhere you can make which changes the story somehow. But I can't think what it might be. Hakano, Urchin Easternizer. Maybe we can do the Raven story and not go to the party. Is there an option in here where we choose not to go to the party? I can't remember. Nope. There's nothing there like that. Chevrolet we just did. Let's Zerial. Oh, I've got an idea. Skip all this.
Clear key.
Well, it's not really an idea. Maybe... Maybe if we do this guy's story and stop... Because there's a choice here where we can stop...
Oh, see, Shonla.
We can stop this guy from... We're not going to indulge him. We're going to stop him. Before Zemoya dashes to the bar, Porley grabs his arm. He only had a couple of long strides left to reach the guys over at the bar. Zemoya glares at the man who is chatting and laughing with nearby patrons. Then he turns his head away. Let me go. The guy's scum.
Hastic.
Personal animosity. Following Zemoya's eyes, Porley sees the man. The henchman waves his arms around, telling a joke to the half-smiling bartender. One of the young men slices through the air with his hand in an odd gesture. The bartender lowers his head and prepares a drink. Kalila, Yuri, those thieves joined the gang. I thought they were just weak-minded comrades. Damn it, I can't believe I just shared the only firewater I brought from Godhrkar with them. I poured it down the traitor's throat.
Yeah, sure.
Let's have a chat, but keep calm, don't mess things up. They walk to the bar together and stop beside the noisy young people.
You're clear.
Excuse me. Enough, I have to pick up the slack for those two dirty gringos again. I'm gonna call the cops. I just don't get what the boss is thinking. Why do we need to work with those upstarts? We're not a charity. You tell me, Hoito. How did we end up fighting the barbarians like this? The three of them curse and click glasses, unaware of Porley and Zemoya.
Slish.
You. He taps the loudmouth's shoulder blade. A faint smell of alcohol emanates from the group.
Majestiras.
I'm looking for the Warnock brothers. There's a whole different story that when Zemoya had heard before. The maximalist looks back and forth between the Porley and the gangsters, while Hoito shakes his head and smiles unapologetically. Sorry, don't give a shit. Hoito shrugs and leans his head back. Two of the other guys snicker and he turns back around with a glass in his hand. Porley snatches a chunk of Hoito's coat, nearly tipping the man off his chair and pulls his gangster towards him.
Fear cash donzet.
Fear cash donzet. Don't test me. Retract that, Zemoya thinks in desperation. This guy is as simple and violent as he thought before. Porley has no expression on his face, but anger seeps from his eyes. He didn't think the first punk he meet would actually know the Warnock brothers, and he wasn't about to let the opportunity slip away. He yanks the man's coat harder, crushing his arrogance into dust with only a glance. Hey, calm down, I'll tell you, man.
Hastic.
Where are they? Check the place over at Bondo. Place is kind of hidden, you know?
Kaya.
Give me the exact location. Bondo 70-something. It's a back street, man. I don't freaking know the exact location. Look for the brown circular sign. A leather store. Oh, bonus service. They're closed today. You can come back tomorrow. Don't worry. We won't tip them off. We had enough of those troublemaking bombs anyway. Porley releases his grip and the guy steps back, really straightening himself. Come on, man. Don't need all get all violence and shit. Let's go. He turns around and taps Zemoya's shoulder with the back of his hand. He follows Porley and they head out of the gambling house. Probably a good decision. They wouldn't treat Zemoya very well. See, I'm thinking that will change day 7 then. That means that the Gwr brother, yeah, these guys won't have been tipped off. The Gwr brothers won't have been tipped off here, so they won't have that conversation that they had between themselves. Let's skip all this. Then we get to Ravens, and we're going to do it, and we're going to skip it. We're not going to make a decision here. We're going to let him make his own decision. Because last time we did that, that led us to actually get to day 7.
Just your claw?
Rather.
We're not going to make a decision. Let him make his own decision, because last time that at least led us to... what's it called? Starting day 7. No, and he got murdered anyway. So now I can't even get past day 6. Regardless of what I'm doing, he's being murdered every single time. I've got no idea how to defeat this. No idea whatsoever. Let's try doing a different decision on this.
Huh?
Last time we declined the invitation. This time we're going to accept it.
Allein.
Then I will do as you ask. He takes the dinner ticket and thanks Maverick once more. Then he joins the other dock workers at the dining car. I'm just thinking maybe this guy, if he has dinner with them, he'll be coming back late from dinner and he'll stop the murder of Raven, maybe? I don't know. I've got no idea how I'm supposed to prevent this from happening. Urchin pushes past the limping group of fishermen, then maneuvers through a crowd of sailors who are beginning to catch the scent of cooked fish and potato. Some of them stuff their uniforms into their pants and pull back on their shoulders. He makes his way through them, keeping his head down to maintain a low profile. There is no need for dockers to realise the cop is in line with them. Dinner to the dock workers. Soon Urchin finds the red-headed man again. He is stirring broth with a wooden spoon, which seems to be the popular dish. Urchin takes a bowl and joins the long queue. As he stands in line, he glances out the corner of his eyes at the rest of the sailors' bowls of food, mostly potatoes, cheese, bacon, and lots of beer. There's plenty of everything, all fresh and steaming. Whoever offered this must be a great philanthropist. When the line finally gets to his turn, Urchin hands the bowl to a red-headed man, but becomes distracted. The man pulls at his sleeve as he serves the soup, and a greenish black tattoo is momentarily visible on his arm. Urchin doesn't have enough time to ponder it. The soup bowl is stuffed back into his hands as the men behind him shout,
Toniac.
"Damn it, just eat your fucking soup, get out of the way!" The crowd is eagerly pushing him forward. He will lose his chance if he lets them shove their way ahead. He must come up with something. His bowl falls on the floor and hot soup spills everywhere. The cursing of the sailors grows louder while the red-haired man leans forward, frowning and grumbling. Urchin apologizes profusely and stands aside to deal with the mess he made. There are a few men in the corner staring at him nervously. Urchin lowers his head and slows down to avoid any more attention.
Allein. Für Karnezik.
I got it. Can you hand me that rag? He points to the table behind the soup man. He immediately gets what he wants. The rag is thrown directly in his face. He squats down to wipe the floor, and the line continues to move methodically around him. He peeks upward, and this time he can clearly see the exposed tattoo when the man stretches out his arm to toss another rag down. The tattoo of antlers and a gun. This guy is one of the buckers. Why are the Buckers doing so much charity here? Urchin thinks as he wipes up the soup. The Bucker gangsters behind him are disarmed, but he still watches every move warily. Urchin throws a rag inside and sits down. A hand pats his shoulder. Urchin turns and glares at the person who touched him. Recognizing his colleague, the tension in his face quickly recedes. Why so clumsy? That's not like you. Urchin smiles wryly but does not defend himself. The Bucker's thugs' eyes are glued to their backs, clearly. Widden's presence raises the level of suspicion of him. He grabs his partner by the arm and drags him out. Let's go.
Got it, Sleen.
Hey, not so fast. They're still eating dinner. That's the perfect time for a bit of small talk. Keep quiet. The food they're eating is provided by the Buckers, Widden. We're being watched. Widden winces without arguing. They should let sleeping dogs lie. The two pretend to be poor workmen who don't have their supper and leave the pier.
Maskla?
Why are they? Urchin shakes his head and frowns. It's no secret that the Buckers have close ties to the docks. The local gang in Illy City ran most of the waterway businesses until the Hokurukan gang moved south and took over the old docks, causing the Buckers to lose a lot of money. Not only that, but the remaining Hokurukans are encouraging workers to fight for their legal rights, which causes problems for big companies in all sectors, including the Buckers. So they're winning the dockers over.
Oi, oi.
Come on, that's not an idea those gangsters in Gun and Blood could come up with. Besides, it's not going to do much toward defeating the Hokurukan gang. Well, at least it's better than buying more Hokurukan bodies. Urchin feels the same way. Instead of spending money like this, the Buckers need to reclaim the old dock first. They've been trying for almost a month, which made the street fighting of West Illy City heat up. Although West Island is not their district, it's still good news for their police. They head back to the sound of waves ringing in their ears.
Phew,
Alright, let's get back. There's a peculiar case of gang violence from last night that's worth looking into.
Twilight.
To the police station.
Oh, got it, Sleen.
Oh, itches. I mean, just go back home. We're not going to stack the reports now, you lunatic. This is a confess day.
Here, mister.
And then they have the same conversations they had last time. So that didn't do anything for us either, I don't think. Nope. He decided to sneak into the library. I don't remember this one. Oh yeah, that's just... He's not sneaking into the library. He goes and visits the library. Not going to waste karma points on this. It doesn't make a difference. Just let the timer tick down. And then we'll skip again. Okay, so Urchin Easternizer. I'm just going to go through every single story and see if there's a different decision we can make that will make a difference. Because I cannot think for the life of me how we're supposed to overcome this. Yep, no decisions there. Heikano, let's have a word with Heikano.
Vodru.
Yeah, I cannot think for the life of me how we're supposed to make a difference here on this story.
Just your claw?
Just gets murdered immediately. We're now on 89% on that day. Let's go to day 5, the first day. Let's go from the very beginning and just try and do everything differently. Every decision we make is going to be different to the way than the decision we made beforehand. He still remembers when Problem fell into war, shells destroyed cities and death filled every street. This must be new, this must be different, otherwise it wouldn't have stopped skipping. Blood flowed from the bricks of the bombarded ruins, the groans of the wounded soldiers mixed with the wails of children. It was the real purgatory, but the church just stood by and prayed for peace to dawn on the land. How should the church do nothing of people in time of need? He then lost his faith in the authority of the church.
Priscilla.
Priscilla, my dear, don't fight this. I don't like arguing with you.
You'll take Sarit.
Besides, you'd have to compete with performers from all over the country. Even if our choir were selected, you would all have to perform for each of the 3-day celebrations.
Will you stop?
Yeah, we've read all this. So she was the girl who was sad on the tram that Zariel saw.
Sarit.
So there's no decision here. Whoops. There's no decision. He just tells her that she can do it. So that doesn't change anything. So this is the interrogation of the priest. I don't remember there being anything different, any choices to make here. Oh, maybe we don't punch him.
Star.
We're not going to beat him this time. Last time we beat him, we're going to leave him. Don't see how that will help anything, though. Urchin makes a fist of his own, tempted to slam it right into the man's already shattered face. The two remain frozen for a moment until the detective slowly turns to leave and slams the door behind him.
Yo.
Yeah, and then we just get back to here. It doesn't make a difference. We've read all that. You should have tried roughing him up. That monster had it coming. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. We'll try Arif, but I don't think there's a decision to be made here either. Yep, she meets the old lady and then just takes her to the police station. No decision to be made there. Poorly. There might be a decision here, but I don't think there is. Nope, no decisions to be made there. Let's try Let's Ariel. Nothing. Chevrolet, we've made the two decisions that we can differ, and Raven. There's no decision here. We've already tried this, so I've got no idea how you're supposed to unlock even more percentage on day one either. To be honest. See, day 5 is 93%, so we're missing a decision somewhere. But I've been through every single chapter that's there. Maybe because we haven't progressed far enough, there's a chapter missing somewhere. So yeah, we just have to move on to day 6. Skip all this. We're not going to buy a newspaper. Actually, we'll buy a newspaper this time. This is new. It was a brutal little society where children were divided into groups by their birthplace and strength, and that Zariel, who came from Promland, became the biggest outlier among them. He had to distract himself from dealing with these sharp-tongued fellows before filling his stomach. One day the eldest one called Zariel a bastard. Maybe he just learned the word, a kid nobody wants. Zariel's talents of eloquence started back then. He responded that every child there was an unwanted bastard, and he was no exception. But the boy just proudly told Zariel with his head held high that he was no bastard. He had parents who were lying in their graves. Zariel has been trying to figure this out ever since. If he had a choice, would he rather have his parents abandon him alive, or because they were dead? It was a cruel option, and until now he had not been ready to face it. He is so absorbed in his worthless memory that he slows his moves. Oh no, we have seen this. Okay, so he finds that. And that's all the same.
Solution.
Just wants to meet the Truth Seeker. Yeah, he meets the Truth Seeker. Nothing new there. Oh yeah, I did all this already, didn't I? Let's try doing Raven's version of it. Nope, nothing new there. This is the priest being visited by the bishop.
Vodru.
Yeah, we tried this already. Okay, this looks interesting. Maybe Father Mulnathan is the same. Look, he's never seen a battle. Why is that? When so many of those comrades joined the civil war? Are you a deserter or a privileged? He often hears that question. There is no difference between the two. At best, the latter has a legitimate reason. Did you really suffer with your children as you promised? Have you seen a 15-year-old soldier, or have you only heard their names in the prayers of desperate mothers? No, and then he goes back onto the same track as that.
Orcasilian. Mofirstar. Beside. Mofirstar.
Dragon.
Giant.
Yeah, we've seen all that again. So literally nothing different is going on. We're just getting little bits and pieces of different information, but nothing major. Let's do this the way we did it before, because we actually made it onto day 7 before by oh no, it's not this story.
see, ya Shonla.
Oh, it is, yeah. Okay. We're not going to stop him this time. We're going to indulge him. Yeah, which means they now have the conversation here about someone trashing the store and is possibly potentially looking for them. The two brothers have the conversation.
Rava.
I don't think it matters which... We're not going to run immediately, we're going to freeze. Because last time we froze and it led us to day 7. See, and then you get to day 7. So maybe Raven is supposed to get murdered regardless. Now we're at least on to day 7 again. If you do those decisions, if you take the main street and freeze in place, Raven gets murdered, yes, but then it leads to day 7. It lets you progress. Skip all this. Yeah, ignore that. Skip all this again. We are going to sneak back into the house. Chevette can't risk the chance of having the Walnut brothers or anybody else in the house grow suspicious of her actions. She doesn't want the guard in any of this. Tomorrow is the time they leave for the theatre for the competition, and she can't afford to lose her sponsor at this point. Quickly taking a detour, Chevette stands in front of the fence. As old and fragile as the boards look, Chevette prays it can at least hold her weight. She throws her high heels in first, then pulls up her skirt. Slowly but surely she manages to reach the top and flips over. Okay, so Chevette's now injured herself through that decision. So that's different. That might lead to something different going on. All of a sudden, her grip slips and she falls straight into the earth. Chevette wastes no time to pull herself back on her feet. She takes a deep breath and calms her pants from... And what? Oh, it calms her panting from the effort. Fortunately, the brothers don't seem to be aware of the thump when she fell. The non-stop knocking reminds her to make every second count. With her hands, she dusts herself roughly before rushing towards the entranceway. As if the mistress of the house should have opened the door with such confidence and elegance, leaving no trace of doubt. The two... Oh, I see, so Chevette opens the door now. That's interesting. She snuck in the back way, came through the front and opens the door as if she'd been there all along. The two look somewhat surprised to see her. They clearly expected to see Legard instead of Chevette, but looking back, it only makes sense that Chevette is present.
Vestishiak.
Miss Fuchsia. The brothers gesture at Chevette respectfully.
Oh, Marianne.
Good morning, gentlemen. Tell me what brings you here so early today. The two hesitates before answering her question. Gowl opens his mouth as if to answer, but Guer stops him from saying anything unnecessary. Is Mr. Whiteson present? We'd like to speak to him.
Fiong.
Unfortunately, Mr. Whiteson is out at the moment, but you can tell me and I'll relay the message to Mr. Whiteson when he comes back. Guer furrows his eyebrows in silence as if to measure Chevette's weight on the matter, but he can't quite put his finger on the woman's schemes. If she has any to begin with, that is. Chevette has confidence in her facade. After a moment of silence, the man compromised as intended. All right then. The truth is we've kidnapped the wrong person. Our target's roommate is now in our hands. It's not a big deal. I just wanted to confirm that Mr. Whiteson's thoughts on the matter first. Now that he's not here, we'll just take care of him ourselves.
Allah?
What do you mean by take care of him?
clue.
We'll kill him, then release the body so our target would give up on the show due to fear. Don't worry, it will be done in secrecy.
Fyong.
Please wait, don't act with haste. Chevlet softly bites her lower lip to evaluate the situation at hand. Leaving a random stranger to die for no reason just leaves a bad aftertaste, no matter what. In their mindset, people's lives are simply commodities. They don't care if innocent people die for a simple mistake, their mistake. They only care about their business reputation.
Coruscant.
Bring him in, see if he knows anything, any value we can get out of him. If he seems rather useless to us, we can deal with him later. Sounds like a plan. We need to make the preparations then. I'll let Gal bring him in later with the ordered goods. Blur did not make any objections and left with Gal in short order. Not wanting to look at these murderers any longer, Chevlet yields back into the house and shuts the door firmly. Okay, cool. So we just saved Raven's life. Okay, so that's the difference we had to make. So on the previous day, you have to take the main alley, and then when he grabs you, you have to freeze. The difference being, if you freeze, he just strangles you and knocks you out. But if you run away, then he garrots you with a wire and you die instantly because it slices your throat. But we seem to have made progress here. This is promising. All the tension she built up flushes away as her legs start to quiver. Chevlet proceeds to her dressing table and sits down. A sudden burn hits her in her palms and right thigh. Her hand has been scratched here and there, but it isn't as major as the one in her ankle. She lifts up her skirt to reveal a small graze. Droplets of blood oozes from the shallow cut, making it look worse than it is. It must have been because of the fall earlier, Chevlet thinks to herself. At least she didn't fall on the shrub and get herself even more injured. She can live with wounds like this. Chevlet gives a wry smile in the mirror. Sometimes she wonders how she got caught up into this mess. Knowing there's no way out but forward, she hardly has a choice. After taking care of her wound, she goes to the mirror and combs her long, hasty hair and pulls on her usual lipstick. She has to put on a facade before the mansion's owner returns. After that, Chevlet takes off the pearl necklace from her neck and puts it back in her purse. She's too afraid to wear it in front of Lagarde. Her affections, her greed, all that's necessary to Lagarde must be discarded. The morning star outside the window gradually hides in the mist. Okay, so that's promising. So they're not going to murder Raven this time. So now that's Chevlet's story in the morning. And Urchin Easternizer. Okay, now we've got the different... This is when he arrests the Maximalists for causing a riot in the station. But guys, we've come up to the hour, so I'm going to wrap things up there for now. We now know how to progress to day 7 indefinitely, so we'll be able to do that properly in the future and make some progress on this game. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching the stream, guys. I do hugely appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed playing. This one was a bit confusing and a bit back and forth, a bit frustrating, but we did manage to break through in the end, so I'm glad that we did it. Yeah, now we can make progress in the game. Hopefully I will see you in the next episode. I produce content every single day, so peace out till next time.